Hey guys, it's Bigley back with you again for another drawing tutorial, and I've been asked to draw this guy, Venom. Since last time we drew Spider-Man, I figured we could tackle one of his truly biggest enemies, figuratively and literally. So grab a pencil and some paper and follow along with me, and we will draw this guy. Okay, before we begin, let's have a little talk about what we're really going to be drawing today, what this really is going to be a lesson in, and that's foreshortening. Foreshortening is simply drawing something that is tilted to appear that it's coming toward you. If I hold up this pen, you can see its height, a bit of its width, but watch how it seems to lose height as I push it this way toward you. It seems much shorter, even though we know the size hasn't changed at all. This is called foreshortening. The fact it seems shorter the more I tilt it, and parts of it come toward you and parts of it away from you. You see this in every object, a car, anything that exists in real life, real-time perspective. A car, a tree limb, any object like this that has height and width. Anything you can think of, but of course as it applies to what we're doing, that's right, limbs on figures. Last time we drew Spider-Man, if you remember, I chose him because he's pretty much a straightforward figure with normal proportions, somewhat muscular proportions, but we drew him pretty much in a standard straight standing pose, not a lot of limbs coming toward you, anything like that. Now we're going to draw this Venom character and make it into a lesson in drawing and using foreshortening. So come along with me and let's begin. Okay guys, let's get a look at our base drawing. I've chosen something that's really a realistic painting of the character, as you can see here. Now don't be intimidated because you get all of this painting. You've got all of these values. We're going to do a black and white drawing, of course. We're going to leave out a lot of the detail. We're going to simplify this as much as possible. Always keep it simple. But this is what we're going for. A dramatic action pose with some limbs going away from us, some coming toward us, some things hidden by the other portions of the body. And we're going to use foreshortening to create that illusion of depth. Let's talk a little bit first also about proportions. The trick to drawing a really big muscular character like Venom or the Hulk is not so much all the muscles you put in and how large you make them, but making the head a bit smaller in comparison to the body. When we drew Spider-Man last time, because he has fairly normal human proportions, he didn't seem to have an extraordinarily large or small head. Just a normal head. In this case, we've got Venom where to make his body look bigger, we shrink his head a bit. Same with the Hulk. The smaller the head, the bigger the body seems. Okay, let's get going. As you can imagine, we're going to start with, right about in the middle, upper middle portion of the page, an egg shape. Like we always do, remember? Spider-Man started last time with an egg shape there. If you want to, like with Spider-Man, we can come down and kind of bisect the head a bit with a line like that, just like you're drawing a line down an egg shape, down the center of an egg. Let's come on each side and rough in these kind of teardrop-shaped eyes. They're a lot like Spider-Man's eyes, except they've got a little more ornamentation on them. They've got kind of this brow, this kind of lash that comes up on each side, like that. Before we go any further, let's map in a shape like that for his giant mouth. There's the upper lip. The lower lip almost comes all the way down to. the lower jaw there. He has a big mouth. Let's rough in what will be the row of teeth right under that upper lip there. And don't worry, the details will come later. Now he's got that huge tongue that's coming out of that mouth. It gets thinner as we go along, starts thick where it comes out of his mouth. And we got like a big S shape, the letter S. Just like that. Nice and simple. Remember, there's no right or wrong way to draw. So whatever gets the drawing on the page the way you like it is the right way.
I'm just showing you one method.
Now, of course, he's coming toward us. So we're going to see his shoulders back here. I'm going to make it like it's just a big rectangular block.
A rounded block.
Sort of. You can bisect that, like that would be his spine. And again, we only see this much of it because we're kind of looking down on him. We're not going to see his neck behind his head. His head's covering that up. But we're overlapping that egg shape onto what we can see of his shoulder area here. Now you saw that big muscular arm. Let's forget that for now. Let's just come in with a big tapered cylinder, just like with Spider-Man last time. Thicker at the top, thinner as we get down to the wrist. Just like that. His hand, which is touching the ground flat like that. Let's do another block at the end of that arm. So this is the back of his hand. This will be where the fingers will emerge. But really, it's a simple block or wedge. And where those 5 fingers will be, let's just make these little cylinder shapes, kind of like little candy corn pieces, next to each other. Now don't worry that you can see the form behind what I'm drawing. Like even if I draw the rest of that hand, because in our final drawing we can erase those lines. That's why I'm drawing with a pen. I want you to draw with a pencil. I'm just drawing with a pen so it's easier to see on your end. Let's go back up to the other arm. This will be his upper arm, the bicep and tricep. Again, just a cylinder right now. And for the lower arm, the forearm, let's just do again a rounded cylinder or pipe that just attaches there. Now he's got his hand like this. So you see a bit of the inner palm, but mostly the front of the curled fingers here and thumb. So to represent that palm, let's just come in again with another little block shape, just like we did here, but we're seeing the opposite side of it. We're seeing it turned. And that can be the palm.
And from these upper and side areas, we see emerging the thumb and the fingers.
Just come in with these cylinders along the front of that block, which we will turn into his palm. Don't worry. Now, of course, we can't see because of this pose his hips, his midsection where the legs meet his body. But for his left leg, let's just do again. Let's just imagine. There's just a cylinder there for his thigh. And again, I've drawn through like we can see through his figure. Don't worry about that. We can always erase that. Let's imagine how the rest of that leg would go, even though we don't see it.
Because his arm is covering that area.
Another attached cylinder. I've kind of bent it a bit to meet his knee and his upper leg. But that's all that is. No details yet. Let's do just a flat wedge for the foot. Let's draw through like we can see it. Looks a little like Bigfoot, doesn't it? Looking good so far. You got to look beyond those details and not let the details mess you up or confuse you. Let's imagine we can see through this arm some more. We know, like if he was wearing a belt, it would come right through here.
The groin would be right about there. Now it's like we've given him trunks.
Now we know where that other leg will attach. Again, a cylinder that gets wider at top, tapered at the end, and we're attaching it right there.
And that's using foreshortening.
This guy's a real gymnast like Spider-Man to get in these kind of poses. What about the lower leg over here, the right leg? Again, start at the knee. Let's come down with a slightly bent cylinder shape, like he's made of pipes.
Squares and triangles and cylinders. Notice how that lower leg really gets smaller as it goes away from us. That's foreshortening.
Keep this foot simple. Attach it to the lower leg. I'm not even going to worry about his toes or anything. Just a wedge, just a kind of pinched rectangle. And there you go. Let's take a closer look at what we've got so far at our basic shapes layout stage. So here we go with that nice egg shape.
If you want to put that line down the middle to help you draw it symmetrically, that's fine.
Cylinders. A square with cylinders for that clutching hand. Straight cylinder that tapers down to the hand. And this hand too is just almost like a flat wedge with some cylinders at the front for that clutching hand. A tapered cylinder here to the knee. Another one nice and thick for this guy because he's so bulky. So Hulk-like. Simple wedge shapes for feet. Keep it nice and simple. At this stage you can check your proportions. Is the head too big or small? Again, you can always make it smaller to make him look more massive body-wise. But there we go. All right, let's proceed to adding some musculature, some anatomy, and some details. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to take our basic shape drawing we just completed, and we're going to build them up to something like this, using our basic shapes as our starting point. Adding some structure and musculature and details over what we've already done. So let's get to work. All right, once again, let's start at the head. If you want to give him some indications here of some cheeks, that's fine. He actually has kind of a skull-like look. Think of the original Alien from the movies. Now let's give it like a ragged texture to his eyes and those weird lashes. You can do this however you'd like, though. You might think of some ideas to make him even scarier. Let's keep that smile, that evil grin, but now for his teeth, that line right below that smile, I'm just going to indicate some saw-toothed edges. If you want to put in every tooth, you can. I like keeping things a little simple. Give him some down here too. Let's get that tongue going. If you want to give that a little middle line, that little indentation in the tongue, you can do that. If you want to add drool and all kinds of yucky stuff, that's up to you. But yeah, building on what we already have. All right, now if you remember, we had kind of a big wedge shape for his torso and back. Let's go ahead and put that backbone line in, but also curve it. Give him some back muscles here. Just add a few curves. You don't have to get crazy with it. Remember that tapered cylinder. Let's go ahead and add some muscles. Up top we got the shoulder, which is a big round circular group of muscles. There's actually 3 heads of the shoulder, 3 parts. And we're not going to draw them all in, but you might want to indicate something like that to represent some of the
separation of the shoulder heads.
Let's come down and put, for his bicep right below the shoulder, another big curved line. And you can exaggerate this as much as you want to make him look extra muscular and extra mean. We've got another curve up here on the other side that represents the tricep muscle, which is the muscle on the back of the arm,
which kind of bunches right under the shoulder.
Come down from that, maybe a little bump for the elbow. And because we're adding all kinds of muscles, let's flare out that upper arm. Big, round muscles. Look at that arm. I'd hate to be Spider-Man right about now. I think I'd go back to bed. And we can add some
inwardly swooping curves.
Little indications of muscles there in the forearm. I like to keep it simple. While we're here, remember how he drew the hand as a kind of plank, a flat board with some cylinders sticking out the front. Let's go ahead and get those fingers shaped up. Same shape, but I'm adding little claws at the end, rounding them off a bit to look more like fingers. Even the weird fingers a character like this might have.
Now they look like candy corn with claws.
But I'm working over those shapes we already put in place. Maybe some curved lines above some of the fingers to represent knuckles. This thumb out to the side, we're going to curve it a bit, add a little claw. But keep it simple. Keep it simple. Let's go back up here again. We already have our cylinders put in. Let's round them off. There's that bicep, tricep of this arm, his left arm. Underneath, let's round that off. Represent big muscles.
A muscular forearm.
Bring it to the hand there. Big chunky round shapes over our original pipes and cylinders. And again with this hand, remember it was a plank, a little block. Same as down here with some cylinders sticking out. Let's again round off and attach these fingers. Let's round off that block inside. There's that palm. Let's put little claws on the end of these little curved fingers. These clutching fingers. A few wrinkles here to represent the fingers folding a bit. Nice and simple. Simple stuff. Let's go back to this leg again. Remember it was just like a cylinder shape that tapers at the knee. Let's round that off, give him some big thigh muscles, some nice quads. If you want to add some indications here of those muscle groups of the thigh, you can do that. And remember we saw a little bit of the foot sticking out here. That wedge we made, I'm just going to kind of represent the heel and the flat of the foot there. And the arch, the underside of the arch there, that area. Other leg again, let's round it. Let's give it some bulk. Let's take that cylinder and round it up, bulk it out. He's been hitting the gym.
And maybe the juice.
Again, if you want to come down with something above the knee there where those thigh muscles end and the knee structure begins, we can do that. The calf muscle and the lower leg, let's round that off. Big muscles, look at that, just round. Look at those muscles. He's nothing but muscle. This character, of course, was created during, well, in the aftermath of a mid-80s limited series called Secret Wars, where Spider-Man got a nifty new black costume that only later did he realize it was an alien
creature, a symbiote.
Kind of a living parasite that was feeding off of his own energies, and he had to get rid of it. And of course, that living alien costume became this character. That's kind of a shortened, abbreviated version of that origin, but there you go. If you saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 film, you kind of get the idea. Here we go with that famous, now familiar, kind of wedge shape for the foot. Let's give him a heel, a little round shape for the heel, a divot. Curve this a bit. I'm going to come out and give him one toe here, and the rest I'm just going to kind of connect.
Because they're so close together anyway.
Trying to keep it simple. And then if you want, come in here with where the toes separate, and like that. Nice and simple.
And we use the concepts of overlapping and foreshortening to create the illusion of depth and 3 dimensions.
We can indicate the trapezius muscle, which connects near the neck and the shoulder. Maybe a little shape there. You don't have to. Little shape like that to show some of the shoulder here. This is a good character to exaggerate on because he's nothing but really exaggerated.
Push to the limit muscles and attitude.
Now you notice I'm not going to try to draw the spider insignia on his back. I know he does have the little white patch here on the back of the hands, which for Spider-Man served as web shooters. It was nice not to have them on the other side of his wrists. And you know, you can add detail that you would like. I noticed in my original drawing, he had some strands of himself coming off here and there, you know. As if he's kind of got these wispy tatters of himself coming from his body as he moves and strikes. But that's up to you. But there it is, all over our basic
shapes layout.
Just like that. You can build it up from the simplest shapes. So there we go. All right, let's take a closer look at our drawing, shall we? Yes, we shall. All right, here we go with that finished drawing. Well, it's not colored in, of course, but all built up over our basic shapes. A flat square with some cylinders on the front and side. Same here. You can still see a bit of that understructure. This was, of course, a straight cylinder. But lots of fun. To go from this to this. So thank you for joining me again. I hope you had fun. As always, you can email me any questions or put them in the comment box. I'll be happy to answer them. You can contact me here at my website, albigley.com. And join me next time for another adventure in drawing. And we'll have fun then too. Thank you very much.